Now I have about 125 clients and I manage $50 million. Last year, we spent $41,000 on daycare. You have a business in the Isle of Man and you pay your kids tuition from that. Somebody logged into my dad's account, changed his bank information, routing number, all that stuff to an account not in his name and transferred the money out. I put the software that was owned by Gabe Pincus funds into AdvisorTech, and AdvisorTech licenses that software to Gabe Pincus funds. Originally, Gabe Pincus Funds was called Pincus Advisory. And what happened was I really tried to start a registered investment advisor by myself, like totally by myself. And that was essentially not possible. The legal and operational requirements, you really just needed someone who had done it before and needed a lawyer. So because I had already kind of like started and screwed up with the state of Texas, I thought it was better to just change the name altogether and start fresh. So I started Pincus Funds, and I started that in 2015 with one client and about 2 million under management. In 2016, my friend and lawyer came to me and said, yeah, you can't be Pincus Funds. You're going to get sued. That actually exists. And I said, okay, GA Pincus Funds, which is, my initials, Gabriel Alexander Pincus Funds. So that started in 2015 with one client. And now I have about 125 clients in 5 countries, 25 states, and I manage $50 million.
So from 2 million to 50 million in about 9 years, and with essentially no paid advertising. It's not bad. At some point, though, I think you actually restructured your business so that the majority of your income would be eligible for the 20% qualified business income tax deduction. Can you explain exactly what you did there?
So I started GA Pincus Funds, and then in 2017, Trump passed the Tax and Jobs Act. It had this business deduction that you can get off the top of your revenues, when you're doing your AGI and all that calculation. But if you own a business where you, the individual who owns it, does all the work. So if you're a financial advisor or an accountant or a doctor, that 20% off phases out at like $360K for combined family AGI. So if you make more than that, you just stop getting that deduction. So I had to figure out a way how to be not the owner of a business that does all the work. So I had to start a tech company. So I created AdvisorTech, and I put the software that was owned by Gabe Pincus funds into AdvisorTech, and AdvisorTech licenses that software to Gabe Pincus funds. So that licensing fee is eligible for the 20% off unlimited, whereas Gabe Pincus funds only gets it up to 360-ish AGI.
I love the two-entity business structure. One entity provides service and the second entity licenses intellectual property to the first. There are so many tax strategies based on just that basic two-entity structure. One of my favorites is to set up the second entity as a holding company, a C corporation that holds the IP in an opportunity zone so that it compounds at a lower tax rate because it's in a C corporation. And then when you sell it eventually, you don't pay any capital gains tax because it's in an opportunity zone. But going back to GA Pincus, you guys are an investment advisor. What is your offer? Are you doing sort of base money management? You're just handling trades, or are you also doing sort of more holistic like wealth management activities where maybe you're helping them with a household budget, or it could be anything in wealth management. You could potentially be helping their kid get into private school.
Our bread and butter offering is we do algorithmic money management. So our goal is that we will outperform the broad market by 1% net every year. And we've done that fairly consistently. Now, the broad market is what you own. If you are super risky, your market is one thing. If you are super non-risky, your market is something else. The other thing that I offer is, and it's part of the algorithmic management, is my trading is net positive from a tax perspective, which means that at the end of the year, you will either owe nothing or get money back from the IRS. I bet 1 in 3 financial advisors don't know what tax loss harvesting is, let alone how to do it successfully. For my parents, which is my longest running client, and they started July 1st, 2013. The blended benchmark for them is, then they're very conservative, but the blended benchmark for them is up 34.78% through today. And their account is up 69.11% net. So in 11 years, I've delivered 35% net outperformance. And that doesn't even take into consideration taxes.
Yeah, taxes are such an underappreciated part of investing. It always amazes me how many people will ignore taxes when comparing two different deals or investment strategies. Because ultimately, investing is math, and tax strategies are by far the easiest way to outperform the market. I
Right.
find it amusing that some investors will say to not let the tax tail wag the dog, because again, it's just math. If you invest $100, would you rather earn $10 that gets taxed at 20%, or earn $9 that gets taxed at 5%? Without looking at taxes, you'd say obviously I want the $10 instead of the $9. But after taxes, $10 becomes $8, while the $9 becomes $8.55. Investors ignoring taxes is just as stupid as business owners ignoring costs and just focusing on revenue instead of profit. But anyway, bringing things back to Gabe Pincus. So you'd say your main value proposition is managing people's portfolios algorithmically and doing so in a way that's as tax efficient as possible. Do you do anything else for your clients?
I will do whatever you want within reason. I'm flying down to Florida next month to help one of my recently widowed clients and her mother with their taxes. I'm bringing a scanner with me. We're going to upload it. I found her an accountant that I recommend and really like. And we're going to go do that process together so that hopefully she can do it herself in the future. But if not, come every year. That's fine. I mentor one of my clients' kids. He's in college at a HBCU, and he was looking for an internship this summer. And so I helped him, gave him some advice on what to do and how to go about that process. I would pay people's bills if they wanted me to. As long as the fee that I'm receiving, and I charge 1% of assets under management, and that's what I charge, and that's for my algorithm, and that's what I'm worth, and that's what I charge. And I don't get a lot of pushback because at the end of the day, I beat the market, and that's a lot better than a lot of people. So if you have enough money with me, I'll do it if you want. The fact of the matter is that most people don't reach out to me that much because really, who wants to talk to their financial advisor?
You said you started with one client. Is that your parents, the first client?
It is. So my parents started on July 1st, 2013 with $1.5 million.
And then how did you get to 10 clients?
So how did I go from 1 to 10? Well, and everybody who knows me knows that I've been interested in this line of work since I could breathe, basically. And my parents were great advocates. And when I said I wanted to start a real business out of it, my mother said, "You don't charge family." And my father said, "With returns like this, you can charge." And they helped me get more and more clients. I managed money for a lot of family, a lot of friends. So my first clients, so we've got my parents, my aunt and uncle, now they're my in-laws, and then just a bunch of really close friends who I just said, "Please give me something, give me something really low that, but I'm telling you, I'm good at this. I'm really, really good at this." And they were basically like, "Well, he's probably better than I am." We're all in our early 30s. Like whatever we had wasn't much. And, the general consensus was, I mean, if he's really trying to do this, he's been doing it for 2 years, his numbers look good. Like he's got to be better than whatever I'm doing. So I'll give it a shot. And it spiraled, and people told their friends, and it grew and grew and grew, and people were happy.
If you have a client that has a risk tolerance that's similar to the overall market, are you beating the S&P?
No, and I won't beat the S&P. And I'm super upfront with that. I will not beat the S&P 500. And if that's what you want, you definitely got to find someone else.
Yeah, I mean, certainly some illiquidity helps. You invest in some a private equity fund or a VC fund. I feel like that's the easiest way to get out performance.
Yes, and it is. So I don't do that, right? I don't do that because it's not my bread and butter. It's not where my skill set lies. So I recommend people do that outside of me. Go do some private equity, buy some real estate, go do VC. I'll introduce you to people who I know, who I think are experts in that arena. I don't try to be all things for all people. I just try to be the best at what I do. And I want to be a sliver or a section of your assets. That shouldn't be everything. You know, if you have $1 billion, don't give me $1 billion. You know, give me 10 million. Give me 1%, 2%, you know, something like that. Let me show you what I do and how I can outperform for what I do. But, you know, I don't know what VC fund or PE fund you should be doing. That might as well be Swahili to me.
So how do you invest your own money? Can you share your approximate net worth and what assets you're invested in, whether that's stocks, real estate, private businesses, etc.?
Yeah. So first and foremost, my wife worked at Amazon for 9 years and now works at eBay. So she does phenomenally well. And so everything that is mine is hers and vice versa. And, you know, I'm super happy with that. And that's how I want it to be. And when we started this, we were engaged and I had no job and a not so successful Gabe Pincus funds. I think I made $7,000 of revenue my first year. So everything's hers. We also have 3 children, 5 and under. So there's some expenses there. My net worth, not including a value of any of my businesses, because I have an idea of what they're probably worth, but I'll get to that in a sec. But so net worth, not including the businesses, is 1.7 million. Of that net worth, we purchased a home in 2019 in Brentwood, Tennessee, which has done phenomenally well. We've got those other real estate properties. So we've got maybe about 1 million of that 1.7 in real estate. And we've got a bunch of Amazon stock, we've got some eBay stock, and we've got, you know, the algorithmic stuff that I do, and then cash. So that kind of rounds out the rest. For the algorithmic stuff that I do, it's 100% aggressive. It's actually more aggressive than I would ever put any of my clients into. It's super, super aggressive because that's how I want to be.
Do you have any crypto?
No, I don't.
It's not that aggressive.
I have futzed around with it. I've lost plenty. I won't put clients in crypto unless they sign something. I think it's all junk. I am so anti-crypto. But that said, to each their own. You want me to buy you crypto? I'll buy you crypto. You just have to sign something.
Okay, so about 1.7 million in real estate, stocks and bonds, and maybe some commodities in your algorithmic portfolio. Let's talk about your businesses now, because I imagine that's where the majority of your net worth actually is. If you had to put a price on Gabe Pincus, how would you value the business?
I would kind of lump Advisor Tech and Gabe Pincus funds into one, because you really can't have one without the other.
Does Advisor Tech have any clients other than Gabe Pincus funds, or is it set up purely as a...
But no, and I've tried. I have tried really, really hard. You know, most financial advisors don't really understand investing. And that's really horrible. That should be horrible to hear. It's not horrible to say because it's true, but it should be really horrible to hear. And to try to explain to them what my strategy does and why it works and how it works, they would then have to be able to explain that to their clients. And most fundamentally can't. They can't explain an algorithm. Are you kidding me? Like they can't. So Gabe Pincus funds, Advisor Tech, something's only worth what someone's willing to pay. And I do have a walkaway price, but it kind of just gets higher by the minute. I used to say I'd sell it for 20. Now I think I want 25. I mean, nobody's paying that, so it doesn't much matter. But when it comes out of the woodworks, once you give me $21 million, I'll go. I'm done.
Well, you're making pretty good cash flow, Summit, so that's, you know, sort of unattractive to sell it, because you said 50 million under management, 1% fee, so you're making like 500,000 basically a year from just cash flow from that. Mm-hmm. And if it's mostly automated, there's not a whole lot of incentive there to sell that. You know, you're just sitting on, like, what are you going to reinvest it into, you know, that's going to give you the same return?
I've thought about it. The reality is what I would do is I would go to my developer and I'd say, rebuild the thing. And I'm just use it for personal use. I don't need to compete. I won't go into business. I don't need to do anything. I just want to rebuild the algorithm so I can use it for myself. I'll have a very tiny, tiny family office. I will do my own management and just do me. And so I will get out tomorrow. I'm done. I don't even need to finish the day. It's 10:56 right now. I'll be done at 11. Retired.
Well, I mean, if you throw some fuel on the marketing fire, you probably could grow your AUM enough to sell for 25 million in a few years. I'm curious about your other businesses, though. Obviously, Gabe Pincus is your largest company, but I know you also have a couple other small businesses. Is MP Realty a holding company for your real estate?
Yes. During COVID, a friend of mine, we decided to buy some single family residences and incorporate that business as well. The residences are in Tennessee. And I just calculated it. We started that process in March of 2021. And in that period of time, our IRR is 147%. Some luck, some skill. I own it with my best friend, who's also a client of Gabe Pincus Funds. And we own properties in Columbia, Tennessee, all on the same street. So the long-term goal is to own as much of the street as possible.
I bought a couple properties in Detroit last year with an old friend and business partner, and he also has a goal of wanting to buy up all the properties in a neighborhood. I personally would rather diversify a little bit, but I understand the allure of, having your own little real estate kingdom. You also have another business called the Financial Investigators. Is that a consulting business?
The financial investigators came from, I was out with some friends and we were all talking, and it turns out that, one of my friends gave business to another friend for, legal business, and it was helping him get promoted to partner at this major firm. And I just kind of like chimed in and I was like, hey, I'll do work. I'll do any work. What do you want me to do? Like, I can do hourly. Give me something. And one of the guys there was like, sure, I'll give you work. You want to do financial research? And I'm like, sure, sign me up. So that's how the Financial Investigators started. I thought of a name, put up a website, bought a logo online for $50 and started that business. And it's grown tremendously. I'm on payroll from two very large companies in Lithuania, and I'm helping them set up and run their businesses in America. And it's really just this idea of, if you live in Lithuania or Czech Republic or Prague or Portugal, and your name is long or hard to pronounce, and your email address is weird and doesn't end in .com or something that somebody's heard of, then every person on earth is going to screw you. And they are going to do it repetitively, and you're not going to know what's real. And doing business in this country is a horrible, expensive pain in the ass. But if you have someone doing it for you, who can go in person and, get the lease agreement and tour the office and get the mail and write emails to the insurance company and the government and be there to answer the phone, you look legitimate. And you are legitimate. You're just legitimate in another country, but now you look legitimate in America.
So you said you're on the payroll. Is this, they don't pay a company entity, they pay you directly, or is like a consultant setup?
My business is on their payroll. So
Gotcha.
In one case, my individual is on their payroll, and I actually wanted it that way because they pay some of my Social Security tax, which is awesome as an entrepreneur. I love that somebody else is paying some of my taxes. And then in the other company, my business gets paid monthly by contract. But last year I did $63,000 of revenue, and I had about $4,000 of expenses. And, this year I'll do the same, if not more. Through the end of January, I've done $6,600 of revenue and $600 or $700 of expenses. And the biggest expense was I actually met the guys from Lithuania. I met them in Miami and went out to dinner. So that company is fun. I get to do all sorts of unique things. The company and the companies I work for in Lithuania are huge. The one employs like 500 people, and the other is the largest Affordable Care Act affiliate marketer in the world. Their entire business is taking you from Facebook to that platform where you enter in all your information to get Affordable Care Act to get medical insurance. That's it.
I love huge, simple businesses like that. Very little upfront capital needed, super simple business model, cash flow is great. Exactly the opposite of something like retail, where you have to manage inventory and you have lots of cash flow issues paying suppliers before customers pay you. And you have lots of risk because you have to guess how much product to buy before you actually know how much demand there's going to be. I think you tried to start a retail business at one point. What happened with that?
For really a very, very long time, I have had this idea for a clothing company. And well, I'll tell you the backstory and then I'll tell you how it bombed. My father owns a company, he's a doctor, and the company name is New York Otolaryngology Group. But he also had the website nyog.com. And they don't even use it. They use nyogmd.com. So they have this website, NYOG, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's amazing. That's a 4-letter website with New York in it and OG, original gangster. How could that not do well? Well, let me tell you, that cannot do well very easily. I had, and I'll be completely honest, I had one sale, one, from someone I didn't personally know. One in a year. One sale. And I spent, through the life of the business, I spent about $35,000. I hired marketers. I did social media. I hired influencers. I did all sorts of stuff that theoretically should work. I changed my prices. I lowered them. I raised them. I did. The designs were cool. I wear them. I think they're nice. Nothing. So the website still exists if you want, nyog.com, but it was just a giant flop. Although, 35 grand, it's not like at the end of the world. It's good enough to know when you failed so you can stop.
I feel like clothing is so commoditized at this point that you really need like a strong emotion that's attached to the clothing brand. Like you said, you could have a great design, but there's so many brands with great designs that's like you just have to have an emotional attachment. Like either, you're an influencer that has a very engaged audience and the people just love you, or you're a celebrity, or you have some sort of super compelling mission story. Somehow you have to evoke that strong emotion to be able to sell any clothing.
Yes, and I can tell you that I did not do that well. At the end of the day, I bought a bunch of clothing for myself, my family, my friends. One of the things I do with Gabe Pincus Funds is we send our clients Customer Appreciation Day gifts once a year. And it's just something to say thank you, because in my industry, that's not a thing that's done. We have a little workaround for it. The gifts are actually marketing. And we request that our clients take pictures of themselves with the gifts. And then we use those pictures in our quarterly reports. So it's actually a marketing expense, promotional, as opposed to just giving you a gift. But that said, we try and get people things that they want. And I will say we got a lot of people New York Original Gangster clothing last year. So that was more free marketing, which didn't work. But the most interesting thing was I met with a good family friend of mine who owns Oppaman, which is a very successful children's clothing company. When it started, Angelina Jolie's kids were all wearing it, and that just took them out of this universe on success. But we had a call. She goes, I just want to let you know I'm going to be brutally honest. And she told me all about, the low margins. And I told her about my one sale, and she laughed like everybody else would. And she was like, either I'll give you all my people and you can use every one that I use, and you can spend, 500, 600,000 bucks this year, and you will be successful, or you can just close up. And I was like, yep, I'm going to take the close up option.
Well, that was probably a good call.
Yeah, now now the website's listed on one of those domain sellers or whatever, because still it is a 4-character website with New York in it, like probably worth something to someone.
Yeah, I certainly don't think if I just went and tried to buy a domain name like that, it'd be at least 10 grand probably.
I have it listed for exactly what I put into the business, which was like 30 some thousand. I also own NewYorkOriginalGangster.com and NYOriginalGangster.com, just in case you need more.
Plus, it's good to have those, in case someone types in the wrong domain name, you can redirect them to your primary domain, avoid your customers getting scammed.
Yes, absolutely.
What about the construction company?
So I was trying to help a friend. I had a friend who owned a construction company who didn't really know how to run a business. And during COVID, he was about to go belly up. And my wife and I came in with some financing, and I made it a loan, and I would take 10%. In the months that followed, I gave him a lot of advice, and I worked with him hand in hand, and he stopped taking that advice. And once I realized that I wasn't being listened to, I said, peace. He's a great guy, but it's a very hard industry. There's a lot of cash flow issues. You need to have pretty hefty revolver, and interest rates are high, and getting a revolver is hard. I mean, doing millions of dollars in projects. I mean, you need loads of money to be able to pay and then wait for others to pay. It's much more difficult than all these other businesses that I own that seem to be much more straightforward. I do some work, you pay me. I get rent. It's first of the month. I get management fees. I'm running your account. Take my management fee. It's very simple.
Yeah. I'm curious why you do so many different things. I think, a lot of entrepreneurs have sort of a little bit of ADD and shiny object syndrome. They like playing in different buckets. Usually that doesn't end up going very well. In your case, it seems like you've had some moderate success doing that. Obviously, you have, Gabe Pincus funds. That's your biggest cash cow. You have financial investigators. That's also profitable. You have your houses, MP Realty.
I totally forgot. There is one more business, and then I'll add into your question. It's called Forward Point Solutions, and we help people set up businesses in tax-friendly jurisdictions. So if you want a business in the Caymans or Switzerland, complete with a bank account and a registered agent, we got you covered. It's something that's very, very common internationally. You live in London and you have a business in the Isle of Man and you pay your kids tuition from that. And that's just like a overseas trust. And it's all like a super common way of doing business and living life in other countries. In America, people don't think about it nearly as much. But if you ever wonder why Mitt Romney pays 5% taxes, it's because all his money's in the Caymans. It is 100% legal if you do it right. If you do it legally, it's 100% legal. It is not illegal to have a company in the Caymans or Switzerland or Panama and a bank account there. It's simply not. It's not illegal. It's just not done a lot in America. We're not tax advisors. We just facilitate the opening of the accounts and the maintenance of the accounts. And if you want, marketing services and social media and all that stuff, we can do that with your business. But that business really only went live early January.
Like a month ago.
Yeah. And why do I do so many different things? Gosh, I want to make Bezos money. I don't know. I want to be retired. I don't want to work.
What is your retirement number? How much money would you need to retire?
God, it is so high. It is so much higher than most people, I think. I'm at a point where I think it's probably 25 million. I think if I had 25 million, that would be enough to live the life I want and retire and not have to worry about it. But I don't know. And then I'm sitting here, I got like 7 companies. Well, why, how the hell am I going to retire? I'm going to be bored out of my mind. But no, I like to travel and I love to sit on the beach and read a good nonfiction.
You get a chance to travel now. How much would you say you spend probably a year on travel experiences?
We travel a decent amount given that we have 3 kids. We don't go anywhere exciting so much, but we do go places. We do a lot of like local trips. Like there's a whole bunch of different cities within 5-hour drive of Nashville. Actually, I learned that that's why country music started in Nashville because there were so many different places that they could go and perform in a 5-hour trip. If you were like just starting out in country, go to Memphis or Atlanta or St. Louis. They're all within this 5-hour radius. So we do a lot of travel. We go to state parks and stuff like that. We go to Miami a few times a year. We go to New York. We go to DC, see family, that type of stuff. And then for my job, I would say I travel, I would say one night every 3 weeks.
Do you enjoy that or do you wish it was less?
No, I like it. I like to see people in person. I like to meet with my clients. I like to host happy hours. I'm a super social person, so I like that aspect of the business. I mean, I don't love sitting on planes, but I get to get a good nap, stay in a hotel, go out to dinner, try new foods. I enjoy it.
So overall, what is your total income, and then how much of that are you spending versus saving each year? So, you said about 500,000 from the advisor stuff, 60K from financial investigators, basically. You said your wife does tech companies, so, I imagine there's 100, 150, maybe 200 there. So maybe you're like 750 a year in income. Is that in the right ballpark?
Yeah, that's in the ballpark. So I don't charge full freight on GA Pincus funds to everyone because some people have non-algorithmic assets with me. So like stocks and stuff like that. And it's not fair to charge full freight on that stuff. So I do discounts depending on the person. And then the other humongo negative of my business is that I get paid in arrears. So I get paid in the backside. And last year, my assets under management grew by 56%. So this year's income, yes, it's going to be about 750. Last year was not. And last year was also incredibly expensive because my custodian, so the person that I used to hold all my clients' assets, was TD Ameritrade, and they were bought by Schwab. And because my business is algorithmic and based on APIs and software, when one company does not exist anymore, then I have to rebuild my software for Schwab. And that was wildly expensive. So last year was not great in terms of take home. That said, I do a lot with taxes. It's not just what I do for GA Pincus funds and what I do for my clients. I am heavily involved in my personal taxes. I have 2 different CPAs. There's a lot of complexity. I've read a good chunk of the tax code.
Me too.
We did the section 179 last year. That's going to be huge. The R&D credit is a huge one for my business.
You do anything with opportunity zones?
I know a lot about it. My sister and her husband are very active there, but I don't personally do anything.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but since you start a bunch of companies, you may want to look into this. Basically, most people don't realize you can do opportunity zones for businesses and not just real estate, but you can form an operating business, a tech company, or even professional services company. Can't do some types of finance and investment stuff, but other types of professional services you can typically. You can form that in an opportunity zone. You have to satisfy certain rules about how much payroll is for work in an opportunity zone, but basically you get tax benefits. So if you have a capital gain, you can take that, invest it into your next startup, make your startup in an opportunity zone. You get to defer paying the capital gains till 2027. And you also get to eventually sell that company and pay no capital gains tax. It's not deferred, it's just erased.
That is very interesting. I did not know that. Just add that to my repertoire. But yeah, my family's estimated take home this year will be much higher than it was in years past. It'll be very close to that number you said.
That's awesome.
That's my projection, at least.
What's your burn? How much do you spend between a mortgage, family expenses? You got 3 kids, childcare.
It is extremely high. We really like nice things. I'm not gonna lie, and it just kind of is. Now there were some big tickets in there, but last year we spent just shy of 600.
What were the big tickets?
The biggest tickets in there were bought a Suburban, top of the line, totally souped up. So that was huge.
Bought it cash?
Yeah, interest rates are pretty high.
Yep.
Oh, wait a moment. Sorry, that 600 number's not right. My business stuff in there too.
I was going to ask about that because it sounds like a number that would probably be the business, like doing the recoding as well.
Yeah, I mean it's not a ton better. It's like 475.
So personal spend last year, 475.
Yeah. So the car, and we needed a new roof last year. That was a real pain in the butt. Starting companies was, spent some money there, paid in some money to start Forward Point Solutions, lost a bunch of money on New York Regional Gangster.
So you're putting in some CapEx in there too, putting in money to start a company. Not the same as just an ordinary expense.
Yeah, right. So maybe 400 is the correct number.
How much do you spend on childcare? And I don't know if you are sending your kids to private school.
So our kids go to public school. Public schools in Brentwood, Tennessee are amazing. We have 2 kids in daycare and 1 in kindergarten. Last year, we spent $41,000 on daycare, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that bad. I don't think.
Yeah, I was going to say I have friends in New York, spending more than that.
Yeah, I mean, when we lived in Chicago, we spent almost that for 1 kid. So it just kind of like ebbs and flows for us. Like, this year we booked all of our travel. In the month of January, we bought every single flight for the entire year. So everywhere we're going, everything's paid for. All the hotels are paid for.
Is that because it's cheap to buy them now, or just because you like pre-planning?
You know what? It only goes up. I got 5 plane tickets every time I got to go somewhere, and now we have to travel on the school calendar. So flights are a fortune. I just figure it's better to do it all at once. The biggest benefit was we got 60,000 Amex points in the month of January. So that was a win.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which we use those things. I'm not as good as a lot of people, but I'm not terrible either. I went to London last year for work, but I used points because tickets were insane. So I flew first class for like 70,000 Amex points. So I try and, play around with that stuff as best I can.
Are you an optimizer? Do you play the optimization game for credit cards?
No, not as well as I should. I downloaded this thing called last year. I downloaded this thing called Max Rewards, and it's something where you link it to your credit cards, and they automatically download all those offers for you. Like if you have an Amex, you get there's like 500 different offers at any given time. And this automatically downloads them, and then it alerts you when you're about to buy something that has one of these offers, so that you can use the offer. So I think it's like $60 to download, and they said give it 90 days. You're guaranteed. Almost everyone will make more than $60 back. And anyway, so I did that middle of last year, and I think last year my rebate was like $750 or something like that in free money from downloading this app. And when it comes to investments, if I'm ever going to recommend something to a client, I like to have bought it first. So I invested in like Jeff Bezos's Arrived Homes just to see how it works, and I wouldn't recommend it.
I also have had some people ask me about that, and I did not invest into it. I just looked into it, and I was like, this doesn't look very attractive.
It's not.
And it has a lot of risk because you don't actually have any real control over the asset.
I bought 2 properties. I think I put $1,100 into it, 101 and 1,000 in the other. And last year, my return, there was no appreciation on the property, and my rental income effectively was like $12 or something. I mean, I got like 1%. I mean, I could have beaten that with cash, or maybe it was 2%, whatever it was really bad considering I do MP Realty, where I make a fortune. Wherever it all goes, if it's fees, if it's not my, I don't know. I don't even know how to sell it or whatever. That happens to me a lot, where I put some money in something and I forget about it and it's probably gone. But I did that. I've done a lot of those things. I've done crowdfunding and percent, and I will say, I don't know if you've ever heard of percent, but that was like loans. I did it because someone at my old company worked there, many, many years ago. And I did it for my father. And sure enough, his account got hacked and they stole all the money.
Oh, wow. That's bad.
But what I will tell you is that the FDIC does exist, and it is possible to get your money back when you get robbed.
Percent was FDIC insured?
They are backed by a bank that is. And the bank deemed that it was Percent's fault, because it was. And they had no safeguards in place whatsoever. And I did enough complaining that I got the money back. It was 7,000 or 18,000. I don't remember what it was, but somebody logged into my dad's account, changed his bank information, routing number, all that stuff to an account not in his name, and transferred the money out. And I wrote them and I was like, what are you kidding me? You don't have any type of safeguard in place for that at all? Like, think about that. And so Percent said, nope, that's your fault. And so I went to the bank and I, reached out to, I always do this, reach out to someone high up at the bank and, just tell them that I'm, going to press charges. So I'm going to tell the SEC and FINRA and everyone else about this. And they write back immediately. And they CC'd the head of Percent and said, give him his money back now. And sure enough, the money came the next day. You should always be willing to complain to the person that can actually action something. The person that stands to lose.
Makes sense. The bank doesn't want to lose its reputation.
Right, of course. Yeah, I mean, the bank was a real bank. It was, some company that decided, oh, this is a great idea. We'll work with a fintech company. We'll get, all these deposits and blah, blah, blah. And that's well and good, but maybe have some, controls in place.
Yeah. Sort of wrapping up, going to your outlook for the future. You said to retire, you want to hit 25 million or more. You're looking for the next big thing, trying new businesses. Do you think you'll get to retirement by starting something new, or why not focus on doubling down on, what works best right now, Gabe Pincus? You've got 50 million. It sounded like, you've gotten most of your clients through friends, family, and referrals. Obviously, marketing is somewhat restricted for investment advisors, but there are ways to market. What if you just ramped up marketing and tried to, grow that business to a point where, either the cash flow is higher or you could sell it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. It really is. I don't love sales.
Me neither.
Not going to lie. A lot of my clients have money with me and money with other people. And so any normal financial advisor would be trying to squeeze every last penny out of someone. I don't care. I kind of like that you have money with other people because it shows off how much better I am. That's actually like a good for me. It's a good question. I don't know that GA Pincus funds could really ever get big enough to ever get big enough where it was going to get sold so that I could retire. I think more than likely I will do what my parents did. I'll work till I'm 65 or 70 and I'll finally have enough, and that'll be, that'll be the end.
There is a growing amount of M&A activity within private investment advisors, though. So I think you probably could sell it for something if you really wanted to.
It's true. There absolutely is. But I don't think I even really want to sell. I said in this whole thing that I would sell tomorrow. And I would if you gave me enough money. But if it was just to sell, then I just have to start something else. No interest. Just keep doing what I'm doing. It's fun. I like my clients. I like doing well for them. Now, sell for 25, I'm out, like literally. But I think I keep starting new things because you could always have that dream, that dream that you're going to start something and it's going to hit the roof. And a lot of the companies that I start, I don't do a lot of the day-to-day work. Like New York Original Gangster, I hired someone to do the designs, and he did the day to day. I just paid the bills. Or MP Realty, our management company, they do everything. Same with Forward Point Solutions. Will does everything. I just pay the bills. So I am trying to find a way to get rich off someone else's back, basically. Because isn't that how you're supposed to do it in America?
Why haven't you hired someone to do sales or marketing for GA Pincus?
Once upon a time, I did. I had a referral, or I actually have a referral agreement with a friend, family member, client to send in qualified referrals. But life got busy, and she's a mom, and she had to appear on MasterChef. So this fell down the wayside. I don't want to pay anyone. I don't want to pay anyone what I could do myself. I don't care if 50 million's great. It's nice to grow. I'm always growing, but 50 million is, I just want to relax. I'm really, really happy where everything is. I don't need more. I'll take more, but I don't need more. I'm pretty happy, and I'm ready to have this AUM for a full year and actually get paid on it, because last year I started the year with like 32 or something like that, 33.
If people want to check you out, gapincusfunds.com, is that the URL?
That's it. Gabriel at GA Pincus Funds. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.